Okay, so I have a question for everyone that just clicked on this video. Aside from this channel and community, where many of us are actively boycotting the US products and travel, is your own inner circle doing the same thing? Your friends, your family, maybe people you see at work? Are they standing firm on their boycott? Or are they more passive about it? I'm asking this because a lot of us might have circles who aren't as passionate as we are, and sometimes that can make it feel like the boycott is dying down, even when it's not. So today, I wanted to share a report and an article that proves that the boycott is very much alive and nowhere near slowing down. So stick around for both. Today's backdrop is another one from Torrin. This photo was taken at Ayers Rock. I hope I said that right. Just north of Admiral Lake in Nova Scotia. It was taken from a DJI drone. It actually kind of reminds me of the Chief in Squamish, British Columbia. Thank you for sending this in, Torrin. All right, let's get to the first report.
Well, despite financial pressures this holiday season, a new report shows that 80% of Canadians not only prefer to shop Canadian, but they're willing to pay a premium of 10% more. That's according to Boston Consulting Group Canada. Let's get more on this from Kathleen Polsonello, head of Boston Consulting Group Canada. Kathleen, thanks very much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Roger.
So we haven't really seen a fade then of the shop Canadian, the elbows up, and we got to buy Canadian. People are still willing to do it.
That's right, Roger. At least for now, we're seeing a lot of different dynamics in the market this year, but that trend is continuing.
And where is the focus on that? Where are Canadians willing to say we're Canadian? Gosh darn it.
Well, it's very consistent with what we're seeing this time of year for how Canadians are shopping Black Friday and the holidays, which is in a few select categories. They're spending their money in apparel, electronics, and beauty. And in those categories, they're looking at really the non-discretionary type of spending. So things I need for the house, my family, versus things I'm splurging on. And that is also where they're buying Canadian.
Now, I haven't really bought too much lately, and the things I have picked up in the last couple of weeks have all been Swedish. I've actually been to this place way too much over the past couple of weeks. But when it comes to my own spending, it's mostly groceries I'm checking labels on. And honestly, it's much easier for me out here in Malaysia to avoid US products. There just isn't as much. It's become a habit, both when I lived in Vancouver as well as here in Kuala Lumpur. That second I pick something up in the grocery store, I flip it around, read the label, and if it says product of USA, I just put it right back. Now, I'm an electronics kind of guy, so I don't really have to worry about it too much being made in the USA. Pretty much everything I buy is made somewhere in Asia, whether it's Japan, Korea, China. But here's a question for everyone watching. Are you boycotting US products outside of groceries? And if you are, let us know in the comments what US products you used to buy and what you actually switched to now.
And that's paying off for those companies. It's good to see putting the Maple Leaf on. I can't lie. I go shopping. I do look for the Maple Leaf and try and shop Canadian as much as I can. Now, I'm curious. 80% said they would be willing to spend a premium of 10%. Were there any Canadians that said they would spend more than that? Or are a lot of Canadians also having to make a decision that they have to spend what they have?
Yeah, it's a great question, Roger. I mean, I think the reality is that Canadians continue to be quite worried about inflation. For context on Canadian household finances, we still see 45% of Canadians, that's nearly half, that are less financially secure than last year. We see 1 in 3 households who wouldn't be able to cover their expenses for a month if their income stopped. And so we do have to remember that Canadians remain squeezed. And those dynamics, translate into a significant portion. In our research, we saw close to 90% of consumers say that rising prices for essentials are a major concern for them. 83% are worried about prices going higher. And so whilst they may say that they're willing to pay more, in the grand scheme of things, this macro anxiety is high in Canada, and it's higher than other markets that we survey around the world, including the US.
Now, this is definitely a reality for a lot of Canadians. With inflation the way it is, it does make it harder to stick to Canadian products when the US alternative might be cheaper. But for me, when it comes to spending, it's actually not that hard for me to avoid US products, just because I don't buy any. I'm looking around my desk right now, and the brands I see are Asus, Samsung, Acer, none of which are from the US. But many Canadians do have to watch their wallets, and if the US option is cheaper, and someone buys it because of their financial situation, I personally don't hold that against them. I've had people email me saying they're sorry because they bought US produce due to money being tight. And the first thing I told them is, you don't have to apologize to me at all. Everyone's financial situation is different, and everyone is contributing to the boycott in their own way.
I bet it's a challenging time for a lot of people. Going back to the non-essentials for a second, though, did people say why they were hesitant to shop Canadian there? Where you didn't see the same numbers that you would see with the essentials?
No, I mean, the reality is this time of year, especially with the deals for Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and as we go into the holidays, folks are very focused on those essential categories and getting deals on them. And it is a time of year for deals, right, Roger? What we're seeing is during Black Friday, consumers expect and are looking for at least 30% off from the retailers they're shopping at. And so it's a great time to buy those essential products.
And one of the things I was fascinated by was the percentage of people that are going to use AI to help do their shopping. It's really showing where AI is moving, how it's moving into the consumer realm now.
Sure is. I'd say that's probably one of the most interesting pieces of insight we generated in the report. For the first time, we see 40% of Canadian consumers using AI, and they're using it primarily to compare products and find value. And so it's a disciplined, data-driven consumer behavior. Now, of course, the reality is we still see use of Amazon. It's the number one influence for purchase decisions, Google, YouTube, brand websites, and of course, in-store advertising and flyers. I mean, that is still the bulk of where folks get their information. Don't get me wrong. But AI is starting to impact the way people shop, and it's particularly true for Gen Z and millennials. They're up at about 50% of them using AI to shop.
I think it's inevitable with the whole AI movement that our shopping habits and product research, and even decisions we make on what to buy, are going to be assisted by AI. I use it all the time. Lately, I've been using it to compare a DJI camera with the Insta360. Just researching specs and figuring out which one fits me better. I won't go with a GoPro since it's a US company, but AI definitely helps when it comes to product research. And not only that, you can quickly find out where the product is made, where the headquarters is, and whether the company is US based or not. So use it to your advantage. It makes it a lot easier to figure out if you're supporting a US company or not. Now I'm going to stop it here because the interview keeps going into AI and shopping. If you want to watch the full video, as always, the link will be in the description below. Now moving on, I want to talk about an article a viewer sent me. It features a Canadian couple who used to frequent the United States and who have now decided that they're standing up for Canada and changing their habits. We meet Christy Gammon in this article, a Canadian who used to travel to the US all the time. Ski trips to Lake Placid, baseball games in Baltimore. Pretty normal for a lot of Canadians that used to frequent the US. But now, she's done. She won't even drive through the US anymore, not even as a shortcut from Nova Scotia to Ontario. Christy says her and her friends stopped going because of the way Trump and the administration have been acting, internationally, domestically, and especially towards us, Canada. Article then says the trend is growing and it shows no signs of slowing down. 10 straight months of Canadians skipping the US. Air travel down 24%, car travel down 30%. Stuff that we've already heard. What I don't like in this article is that they're saying it's because of the tariff threats. Obviously, we know it's not. It's the 51st state rhetoric. Now, this article goes on to talk about the tariffs, the Ontario ad that used Reagan's voice, the fentanyl excuse, Kalispell's Canadian welcome pass, and a few other things. Pretty much everything I've covered on my channel in previous videos. But I want to focus on Christy's response, the human side of all of this. She mentions that some of her friends have chosen to sell their winter homes in Florida because of Donald Trump, and they're now making major changes to their snowbird plans. And just like many viewers on this channel who also sold their places, I'm sure Ms. Gammon's friends have probably decided to go somewhere else, maybe Portugal or Mexico. Both seem to be popular places for snowbirds to go these days. But Ms. Gammon is sticking to her values and will be continuing her boycott of the US. She says there would need to be a pretty significant change before she would even consider going back. And I have to agree with her. And for me personally, even if there was a big change, would I really want to spend my hard-earned money in a country where half of its citizens showed their true colors this year? Some people might be more forgiving on this topic, and they might head back once Trump is out of the office. Fair enough, that's her choice. But I wanted to take the last part of this video to have a little bit of a vent. For those who might be planning to go back to the United States once Trump is out of the office, will the US have changed that much just because one orange guy left the Oval Office? Sure, things might start to shift at a government level, assuming a Democratic president replaces him. And maybe policies get reversed, tariffs rolled back, and maybe even some deportation cases get overturned. There's a lot that would need undoing, and we're only 10 months into the Trump presidency. There are still 3 more years of damage on the way. But let's say all of that does happen, and things start to look quote-unquote normal again on paper. Which parts are irreversible? Here's my take, and you can agree or disagree with me on this. I will never forget the disrespect that was shown to Canada, the constant 51st state bullshit, the threats, and the idea that Canada should not exist, and the general belittling of our country. Number 2, the US business owners who only cared about Canadians when their cash registers stopped ringing. The same business owners who voted for Trump and then suddenly realized how much Canadian support they relied on. The lack of understandings about why Canadians are actually upset, and the endless excuses, blaming the rain, blaming the exchange rate, blaming anything except their president and their vote. And last but not least, the 77 million people and the ones who didn't vote at all. And yes, thank you to the commenters who reminded me of that. These people are not going anywhere. The ones who voted for Trump and the ones who didn't vote at all. Neither is their mindset or their attitude towards my country. We've entered a point in history where the rhetoric, the racism, the hatred, and the disrespect has become normal for the right just to spew out without hesitation. I received an email from a US citizen who has been incredibly supportive of Canada and is embarrassed by what his government and his fellow citizens are doing to Canada, and honestly the rest of the world. He says he feels like his country has sparked a wave of hate, not just in the US, but in Canada, Australia, Europe, and other regions around the world. And I hate to say it, but I agree with him. Because at least for me, back in 2016 when Trump won the first election, that was when I really started noticing that it became acceptable to be openly racist and openly hateful. That shift didn't disappear, it actually spread. And now we're watching the full effects of it in 2025. So with these reasons I've mentioned, at least for me, when Trump is finally gone after 3 years, and even if a Democratic president comes in, and even if the political government damage gets reversed as much as possible, unfortunately, my view of the United States is tarnished. I don't like saying that, because there are millions of US citizens who are good people and genuine allies to Canada. But I just can't picture myself going to the United States, doing those quick day trips to Washington State, or going on vacation, and spending my money at shops and businesses where the owners may have been part of these 77 million who encourage the 51st state rhetoric. I'm not even sure if this event makes sense to you guys. It's midnight right now as I'm recording this, and I'm starting to get really tired. But I keep thinking about where things will be in 3 years. And for me, the trust and the cuts have gone way too deep. But hey, anything can happen in the future, good or bad. Let me know your thoughts below if you agree or disagree with me on this. That's it for today's video. If you found any value in what I said, help out my channel by hitting the like and subscribe button below. And if you're still watching at this point, thank you for sticking around. And here's another bonus photo of the co-host. Have a good rest of your day, everyone, and I'll see you in the next video.